at my Santa, you guys. Hi everyone. Why do I have a little Santa in the middle of spring? Well, that's because we are doing coastal Christmas today. And if Leo's wondering, that means you're wondering why I'm doing this. Because during Christmas time, these wreath forms that I'm going to be using are not available. So we are going to go for it and make some fun and beautiful coastal Christmas wreaths. Right, Leo? Let's get started. Here are the supplies you're going to need. A Dollar Tree Christmas tree, and the one I'll be using is in white. Then I'm going to be using a Farmhouse Glam, because it does have the silver, Poinsettia flower little clip. This one I got at Walmart. I'm going to be using 2 coastal picks from the Dollar Tree and 2 picks I got at Joann's. Merry Christmas sign. I'm also going to be using this wooden board. It measures 8.5 inches by 5. And for the wreath form that we're using is this beautiful seashell one from the Dollar Tree. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the things I want painted. For the Merry Christmas sign, I'm using a Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white. I'm going to give it a coat or two until I feel like it's a nice crisp white. For my wooden board, I'm going to paint it black, and I know that sounds odd because we're doing Christmas, but we are doing a bit of a farmhouse glam, so this is going to work fine. It only took 1 coat, and now I'm just doing the sides. These 2 are dry. I'm grabbing a Sharpie paint marker, and I'm going to do stitching kind of like what you have on the Christmas sign all around. I'm going to do that around this sign. The nice thing about this is you don't have to have perfect little stitches. You can have some shorter, some longer, maybe some even crooked. Now that our stitching is done, I'm grabbing my Merry Christmas sign and I'm going to give it a nice dollop of hot glue wherever I can. And I'm going to hot glue it right there. Our sign is all set. Now let's get started on the wreath. The next thing we're going to do is cover our shell with the Christmas tree. What I'm doing with the Christmas tree is I'm pulling out the actual branches. Just give it a little bit of muscle, and if you can't pull them out, just use some wire cutters and cut them out. Next, I'm going to take my branches and start laying them out. If you have something like this where you know it's going to show, just use some wire cutters, get rid of that, and then overlay this on top, and it's going to fit in really nicely. I decided to put short ones on top and long ones at the bottom because I know my sign is going to go right there. For this, I decided to use white hot glue instead of the clear because that way it's going to cover some of this yellow, and I'm just going to hot glue like this straight onto the wreath form, and then I'm going to add my little white Christmas tree. When hot gluing these in place, make sure all your branches are facing the same way. So right here, as you see, all of mine are facing up, so I'm going to do that going down. Also, when you're doing the horizontal lines, make sure all your branches are going the same way. And of course, don't forget to bend the ones that are going on these little waves. Now that we have the inside fill in, I'm going to start doing the outside, and here I am not going to mess with any of these. Pick just the best part of the branches because that's the whole beauty, and you want these to look seamless. Look at that, we are starting to get our shell. Next, I'm bringing the picks in to cut them down quite a bit. My silver pick, I'm going to put on top of this one using a little zip tie. I'm going to bring everything together before finalizing my zip tie. Make sure that's where I want it. After my zip tie is nice and tight, what I want to do is I want to bring some of this greenery to the front, and I'm going to open this up as much as I can. I'm going to remove this part and attach the sign. As you can see, it's super easy to center the sign from the back, but before I hot glue this in place, I'm grabbing some jute cord, going to go underneath this top wave on the inside, right here and right here. Tie this in. I'm making sure that my hanging loop is not going to go above right there. And I'm just going to start hot gluing it straight to the wood right here. The sign is all hot glued in place, and yes, I think I went overboard just a little bit. And look how pretty it's starting to look. Now let's add the greenery. To attach the actual greenery to the wreath form, you can use zip tie, floral wire, pipe cleaners, but I do like my zip ties. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crisscross them. One zip tie is going to go from top to bottom this one. The other one is going to go from here to here. For the final touch, I have my poinsettia. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip it in place right here. You could hot glue it in place, whatever you want to do. But look how adorable this came out. And it's very farmhouse for my farmhouse friends. This is going to be a little bit of a glam wreath because of the ribbon that we're going to use. I have this beautiful ribbon that has little pink ornaments with gold and this light green. This ribbon is 2.5 inches. It's wired, and this one was purchased at Marshall's. This one was purchased at Michael's. It's 1.5 inches and also wired. The rest of these supplies are from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to be using some of this ivory burlap, then some white felt, some of these beautiful coastal picks. One of them have a little seahorse on them, this little berry bushel, and of course we're going to be using a mermaid tail. When covering a wreath like this, using burlap right away is not the best idea because you don't want to hot glue burlap onto burlap. It's going to show through. I'm just going to measure off how much I need. Going to do the same thing with the tail. I'm going to do the tail first. The reason I chose felt instead of fabric is because felt is very malleable and you can shape it and stretch it however you want. Any excess I'm going to cut off. Tail is done. Let's do the top, and now I'm hot gluing the top part in place. Going to cut off all the excess. Let's get the burlap. The most important part that needs to be covered really nicely is the top and the bottom. I'm going to start with the top, and I'm going to go where the fold is right here so that the main part at the top doesn't have any wrinkles. Hot glue it in at the top. Now let's hot glue the sides in place. Just continue working those sides in and keep on going back and forth from side to side to make sure that it's going in nice and even. Next, I'm cutting off all the excess burlap about 1 inch from the edge. Now I can do the corners. Next, I'm grabbing my leftover burlap. Grab a piece that would work the best. Now that our mermaid tail is all covered, I'm going to bring in the greenery. Because these two picks are the same, I decided to mirror them. These greenery pieces on the sides, then this right here, we're going to open it up, and the tallest part in the center. The seahorse does have this greenery that really flops, so we might hot glue some of that in place. Next, I'm going to grab the floral with the pink, and I'm going to cut all of this off. Since I'm only using the berries, I'm getting rid of all the pine and the leaves. After I like the way everything is arranged, grabbing my zip tie and zip tying everything together. Cut off the excess. For this part, I'm going to grab heavier wire. This is a 20 gauge wire from the back. Because of the felt, it's easy to go in and out. Back to the front, and I'm going above the zip tie, giving it a twist in the back. This wire is 18 inches long, so I'm going to take the shorter end and I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to go a little lower just to have this tail in place. I'm going to go a little higher, and I want to attach to the little wave, so I'm just going to go right in the middle. This is going to grab some of these and then just twisting them in place. At this point, whatever you want hot glued, definitely do that. This is what we have so far. Now it's time to start working on our boat. I'm going to first measure how long I want my tail to be, and I don't want it to be longer than the actual mermaid tail. And then let's figure out how big we want our loops to be. There's my loop. I'm going to measure it real quick before I get started, and that's 4 inches. Because this is one-sided ribbon, I'm going to put my tail face side up. I'm going to take it to the bottom so we can see the measurements. And I'm going to make a twist. That way when I make my loop, it's right side up. We decided on 4 inches. So I'm going to make another twist. Make sure it's at 4 inches. And go to 4 inches on this side. I don't want this bow to be too big. So what I'm going to do is a 3-loop bow. Measuring another 4 inches. Next, I'm grabbing my 1.5 inch ribbon. And I'm going to start with this side. This is a one-sided ribbon also. So right away, we're going to do a little twist. And then same thing, I'm going to do 4 inches, then twist. And you don't really have to measure at this point because you already see where your measurements are, but you do have to twist every time you come through the center. That way everything is right side up. And I'm also doing 3 loops with this ribbon. For that coastal feel, I'm grabbing some mesh ribbon, which is my favorite. Some of you know. I'm going to do 3 loops just like the other ones. To put the bow together, I decided to use some white floral wire. When you feel your bow is nice and secure with the floral wire, go ahead and put it around the tail. And I wrapped it around a few times and then twisting it in place. Before we open up the bow, I'm going to put in a hanging loop, the second wave from the top, right in the center, cut off a generous piece, make a few knots, and you have a nice loop that is centered. Let's go over here and make this all pretty for Christmas. Next, I'm going to do dovetails. Apparently, Leo wanted to say hi. And because this is a mermaid tail wreath, I feel like dovetails are very appropriate. Next, I'm going to balance things out. And there you go. We have a unique pink and a light green coastal Christmas wreath. For this wreath, I'm starting with a foam wreath form from the Dollar Tree. Then I'm going to be using this beautiful light blue glitter ribbon. Next, I got all of these picks on the After Christmas clearance. These curls I got at Michael's. This one I got at Joann's. Next, I'm going to be using some of these glitter white leaves. And then you're going to need some sort of ribbon. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this wreath form in this light blue ribbon. A little bit of hot glue. When you're wrapping this around, make sure you choose the side where you're going to hot glue the ribbon in place and just hot glue on one side. And sometimes this happens. I think I overlaid it a little bit too much, but that's okay. I'm going to grab a similar color, finish it off, and this is where my decor and my bow is going to go. It's going to get hidden, but I still don't want it to be green on the back and where it can be seen. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish off with this other ribbon, and then we're going to be ready to decorate. As you see, the leaves blend in with our wreath form really nicely. That is why we are going to use these. First things first, let's bend them so they bend with our wreath form. Then we're going to bend this. And now for the pop of silver, we're going to put some on one side and then some of these cuties on the other side and just kind of work it in place. So it looks like little corals peeking through here and there. And then the white will bring everything into focus. Now that I have everything in place, I'm going to zip tie it. Then I'm going to grab a big zip tie and I'm zip tying the whole piece into place. The next thing I want to take care of is actually the hanging loop. I'm grabbing some of this silver tinsel cord, making a few knots. And of course the knot is going to go on the inside. You can hot glue it in place, whatever you want to do. Now we're going to put a bow right here. Before I get started, I want to measure how long I want my actual ribbon strips to be. Let's see what this is. 8 inches. Let's do maybe 3 of these. We can always add more. Now I'm just going to fold them in half. And we have our little dovetails. Then our silver ribbon, same thing. We're going to do it at 8 inches. I also decided to use some white ribbon. This one I get at Costco during Christmas. Same thing, we're going to do 3. We're going to start with the white, then bring in the blue and the silver because I'm going to put a silver dollar on top and I want that to be against something darker. So all I'm going to do is just layer them. White, blue, silver, white, blue, silver, and white, blue, silver. Then I'm going to fold the bow in half so I can just pinch on one side and find your center, bringing it together. Floral wire, tie it tightly in the back, and then you can attach it to your wreath. After the bow is attached, I'm just opening it up. That is how easy this is. Now my bow is how I want it to be in the back. All of this is hidden by the bow itself. Now let's get all that hot glue on. I'm going to let the glue cool and we are done with this ultimate glam Christmas coastal wreath. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making these wreaths in the middle of spring. As you see, my decor does not match my outfit, which is kind of strange. We don't even match the season, do we, Leo? Well, let me know which wreath was your favorite because I sure had fun making these. With that being said, thank you so much for being with us. If you are new to this channel and love wreath tutorials, please consider subscribing. And of course, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, everyone. For more wreath tutorials right now, we have prepared 2 videos for you right here to choose from. Go ahead and click those and enjoy more wreath tutorials. With that being said, thank you so much and have a beautiful and blessed day. Bye, everyone. Mwah. Mwah. So sweet of you, Leo.